What does it mean? It means that India will be the knowledge hub. There will be Indians who will be competent enough, who will be learned enough, who will have the wisdom and expertise. Not only they will be proficient about Indian culture and civilization, but they will be great masters of other civilizations and cultures, and they will draw students, pupils from all over the world who will come to India to learn. I mean, what a day it will be. Just think about it. A man from Europe traveling to India to learn about Christianity. Somebody from Middle East traveling to India to study Islam, or Judaism, or for that matter, any other tradition. That is the kind of Vishwa Guru that our seers had envisaged, that we should be competent enough. And if you look at before 10th, 11th century, in Europe, everybody admits, I'm not making any new statement, Europe was almost living in darkness before Renaissance. But in Middle East, there was a period of which is about 250, 300 years, which is marked as the golden age of Islam, when Darul Hikmah was established in Baghdad, and the intellectual pursuits were in full force. Now, if you look at the history of that golden age, it starts with the translation of Indian books into Arabic. A scholar from Sindh, his name was Kanak. He goes to Baghdad with some books, and the book on space studies, क्या कहेंगे उसको? Not really. Astronomy. Surya Siddhant. He carries with him Surya Siddhant. This Surya Siddhant, few portions of it are translated into Arabic, and they are recited to Mansur, the reigning ruler. And Mansur is so fascinated hearing those passages that he engages a scientist by the name of Fazari, and through Nishapur faculty, the history books report that more than 50% of the faculty was of Indian origin. So they had these scholars. He constitutes a team led by Fazari. Kanak is part of it, and few other scholars. And that he orders translation of that Surya Siddhant. The Arabic version of the Surya Siddhant is named as Hind Sindh. Now, 8th, 9th century, 10th century, even later, the Baghdad government and the Muslim government in Spain, they were not on very good terms, rather hostile relationship. Now this ruler in Spain comes to know about this translation of Surya Siddhant into Arabic. Relations are not very good. So what he does, he pays huge bribe to the scribes. And huge bribe. All history books have noted it. And he succeeds in securing one copy of the Surya Siddhant, Hind Sindh, and later this book was translated from Spain. It was translated almost into all Europe, first Latin, then some other language, but almost all European languages, and everybody admits, they acknowledge the fact that European studies of the space initially are based on this book, which was Hind Sindh, which was, the original book was Surya Siddhant. So if the books written by our sages in 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th century, and their translation can become basis for the study of the space studies, basis for the space studies, we should have that confidence that India can do it even now. We have, it is true. It is true that we have passed through a period of decline. But we can't keep lamenting about it. As Swami Vivekananda has said, it will take some time to reach the message, but now we are internalizing that message. And we are coming to it. I have absolutely no doubt that New India, and New India is not something brand new India, New India, full spirited, vigorous New India, rooted in its great traditions and heritage. I have no doubt that it is going to emerge, and we shall, all of us will see that India really emerges as a world power. But as Swami Vivekananda has said, we have to identify anybody for that matter, from individual to society. Every individual has some special. Every individual is a unique personality, certain genius is specific to that person. Likewise, every society is a unique society. It has something special about it. And Swami Vivekananda has identified that special thing about India. He says, India has only two national ideals: renunciation and service. Intensify her in these two channels, the rest will take care of itself. We cannot divorce ourselves from our past. India can grow naturally, organically, only when we are firmly rooted in these great, and these traditions. There is nothing exclusive about them. I have already said that Indian roots, Indian culture, Indian civilization, it has a universal vision. Swami Vivekananda or other sages, they talk about man-making, nation-building, and universal brotherhood. So, when we talk about Indian values, we are not talking about creating an exclusive society. Our Ayam Nich Paroveti, Garna Laghu Cheta Sam, Udar Charita Nam Tu, Vasudev Kutumbakam. This is mine and this is yours. This is thinking of those who have smaller minds. As far as those who have a liberal, generous attitude, for them the whole earth is one big global family. So we are not pursuing. When we talk about Indian civilizational heritage, we are not nobody is emphasizing that you take a narrow view. In fact, just now I mentioned about this Baitul Hikmah and Surya Siddhant. Look, the Arabs started writing history proper, which fulfills the requirements of the modern historiography. They started writing in the late 8th century, 9th century. And there are five, 6, 7 prominent historians. You read any one of them, right from Tabari to Ibn Kasir, the first chapter is devoted to India. And why it is devoted to India? They identify India as the knowledge destination, as the knowledge hub. And they say there are only 4 dominions in the world. The Iranian dominion is known for its majesty. The Roman dominion is known for its handsomeness, its beauty. The Chinese are known for their craftsmanship and their obedience to the rules and laws. and Indian dominion is known for the promotion of knowledge and wisdom. Everybody has identified. First chapter is devoted, in every book, first chapter is devoted to India. And in fact, this viewpoint goes back into history. As a child, I had read that famous patriotic song, Sare Jahan Se Achha Hindustan Hamara. In that song, there is a line which says about India, Meere Arab ko aayi thandi hawa jahan se. The reference is to a prophetic narration which says that while sitting in his mosque, the Prophet Muhammad Sahab, he said, I am feeling the cool breeze of knowledge coming from land of India. When I read the actual Arabic text, it was Ajidu Rihal Ilmi min Biladil Hind. I am feeling the cool breeze of knowledge coming from land of India. Now somebody who is the prophet, whose source of knowledge is divine, and he never visited India, but he is saying that I am feeling the cool breeze of knowledge coming from land of India. Then India, there is nothing new when we talk about India being Vishwa Guru. There is nothing new about it. Only thing is that we have to revive that old tradition. And Swami Vivekananda, here again I would like to quote Swami Vivekananda, where he said, while talking about decline of India, he said, I see it before my eyes. A nation is advanced in proportion of as education and intelligence is spread among the masses. The chief cause of India's ruin has been the monopolizing of the whole education and intelligence of the land by dint of pride and royal authority among a handful of men. If we are to rise again, we shall have to do it by spreading education among masses. No man, no nation, my son, can hate others and live. I used to, for many years, I used to wonder, because I also heard from people that if certain sections of the population, including women, if they hear these words of wisdom, I mean, they were not permitted to hear these words. I used to wonder how this thing can happen, how this can be allowed by this great civilization. And I had no answer to that. But when I read Swami Vivekananda, particularly Swami Ranganathananda, he has answered this question in detail. He says that all these things came into, all these prohibitions came into existence during the period of decline. He says that in Shrimad Bhagavad, not Gita, in Shrimad Bhagavad, there is a shlok which says that anybody and everybody, whosoever conceals knowledge, is described as Saraswati Kalv, villain of Saraswati. If the scriptures describe such people as villains of Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, then how it can be accepted? Surely this was a distortion. Surely this was a deviation. And we have a duty to correct it. And now I will not take any more of your time, but I shall conclude with an old, with fold lines which have been used by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, and he has used them as his famous poem, his dreamland where he wants to live, country without any fear. You can tell me about that, I don't remember that. But here he has used 4 Sanskrit lines. Ya eko varna bahuda shakti yoga. वर्णान अनेकान निहितार्थो दधाति विचैति चांते विश्वम आदो सा देवा सानो बुधिया शुभिया संयक्तो. He who is one, prayer to the Lord. He who is one, who is above all color distinctions, who dispenses the inherent needs of men, women, of all colors, who comprehends all things from beginning to end. Let him unite us to one another with wisdom. And what kind of wisdom? Wisdom which is the wisdom of goodness. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.